Live from New York, it's Ask This Engineer.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ask the Engineer. It's me, LADYADA. With me is Mr. LADYADA on camera control. We got a jam-packed show with all the newest news, newest products, newest videos, newest guides. New. It's all here. It's all live. It's all on Ask the Engineer. We're going to kick off this show with...
I should probably tell everybody what's on the show.
What's on tonight's show? Yeah, what's on tonight's show?
Yeah, on tonight's show, besides voting, we'll talk about that in a bit. We are shipping smart and safe. Our team is PPE'd up, masks, gloves, distancing, ventilation. We swab the place looking for COVID once a month. We publish our safety protocols. That is why we've been able to ship thousands and thousands of orders every single week. Our team thanks you. These are pre-COVID photos. And please support us, an open source hardware company in New York City trying to survive this insanity. So, Lydia is going to talk about who was on the show and tell, what they shared, and more. Got a little bit of JP Workshop, some previews, some Make Code Minute. We are going to do some time travel. We're going to look at some Python on hardware. We have some factory footage from Adafruit, some 3D printed stuff from Noah and Pedro. We have everyone's favorite segment, which is brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. It is Eye on NPI this week. Lydia is going to talk about a new sensor from Bosch. We're going to do some new products. We got some top secret this week. We're going to answer your questions. We do that over on Discord because it's easier to deal with than 5 different chat rooms in 5 different places. Adafruit.it/Discord. Go there. Join all 25,000 of us. And we get to the questions throughout the show, but mostly at the end. All of that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer. All right, so first off, let's just do some important stuff. In 13 days, a bunch of stuff's going to happen. You don't want to be left out. Something's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Whatever happens, don't you want to be part of it?
You want to tell everybody, I was there and I did something. Maybe you already voted. Thanks. Maybe you're going to do early voting. Whatever it is, do something this year. We took some photos and we sent this off to the New York City folks who asked. They said, hey, can you take some photos of you at a New York City manufacturing company and your team that's going to be voting? Because we do paid day off for voting. That's something that we've been doing for years. We had a feeling.
A lot of people are voting by mail.
That's fine.
We have people are voting early.
Some of our team, they're doing poll working stuff. Even the Adafruit lawyers that we work with, those lawyers are going to be observers at poll locations.
That's great.
So, we're getting everyone involved. There's been people in our community that signed up to be poll workers. Adafruit.com/vote has all the resources. That's super important. The other thing super important is, it feels good buying something. So AdaBox is shipping.
Especially something that you learn with.
AdaBox is shipping right now, and it's going to get to you by Halloween. We're going to cut off subscriptions in next day or so. So if you haven't already, go to adabox.com, sign up for AdaBox. It'll be shipping out. Don't look on Twitter. Some people are already saying what it is, blah, 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 because that's what people do on Twitter. Adabox.com. You will get it. We're shipping the last round out shortly. Now, if you just want to buy stuff and get free stuff, that's okay. You can. We have free stuff. LADYADA, what are the free things that people get when they buy stuff?
I'm glad you asked. When you order $99 or more, you get a free Permaproto half-size breadboard. Great for soldering on your projects that you're working on over the fall and winter. Make them permanent on a Permaproto. $149 or more, you get a free... a free QT Pie, a free Stemma QT board.
Yeah, love QT Pies.
We don't have QT Pies yet, but we'll add them.
But want Stemma.
The Stemma QT boards, we have all sorts of sensors and breakouts and USB connectors and stuff.
But wait, you'll want to collect a lot of Stemmas because soon we'll have Stemma Friend in the store.
That's right.
Hi.
Your ice cream pal.
I'm your I-Squared pal. Hi.
Hello. Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Yep. That's what it's like here. $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States, and at $299 or more, you get a free Circuit Playground. Man, I keep getting this backwards. A free Circuit Playground Express, or all-in-one dev board that you can use with MakeCode, CircuitPython, Arduino, or various other languages and development systems. It's got all the sensors and buttons and LEDs built in, so it's a great way to learn to code, learn to make something fun and crafty. You're going to be indoors, you might as well learn something with that time.
Okay. Next up, people around the world are sharing their projects. This week we had a bunch of folks in, and we were able to get to all of them. It's every week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. LADYADA, who's on the show and tell, and what they share?
I'm glad you asked. We had Brent who came by and talked about Learn guides that he's working with. Colin showed us some e-ink under a microscope. Jepler made a reverse Polish notation calculator with a short memory display. It's beautiful, and he wrote a guide for it too, so you demoed that out. It's got true decimal precision. Ned Pedro's 3D Hangouts project this week was a 3D printed tombstone with like a diffuse NeoPixel acrylic and a Halloween M4 eyeball. It's a cool little like mini tombstone. Last week was a tombstone. This week's a tombstone. It's all Tombstone month. We also had from DigiKey, Kevin came by. He's worked on some RGB matrix projects. He made a skull emoji. I don't know what are they called? Memojis?
Yeah, Apple has this thing where you can, you point your phone at your face and it sees you talking to it, and then it makes a little avatar thing. Well, we show how you could take that and then use that as like a digital puppet for other things.
Yeah, it's cool.
So it's clever.
Yeah, made sprite sheets, and so we got that going. So we put on with that. Michael Weinberg came by and told us about the state of open source hardware. There's a new document that he helped out with.
We're going to show that tonight.
We're going to show it off later. Also, there's a new API for reading and writing data from the open source hardware database that we have 40% of all entries, which is great. Michael came by with a Feather STM32 satellite phone, making his own phone using a Rockblock modem and Twilio that'll work anywhere in the world. It's going to add solar power and battery, so it's like, true post-apocalyptic, even though the apocalypse is different than I thought. Liz is still working on the 3D printed Frankenstein monster head, added capacitive touch with a cutie pie. Carrie made cool DIY or pre-assembled LED voting pins that say I voted in both English and Spanish. They're available on her Tindy store. And Target showed off an ESP32S2 clip programmer, so you can just put those modules in, those castellated pad modules in, they program. And it has CircuitPython support too, so it's cool. Probably also available on either CrossPlay or Tindy, I don't know where. But check it out, ESP32S2 clip programmer.
All right. Show and Tell is part of our Adafruit Live series of shows. You are watching Ask an Engineer right now, 8 p.m. every Wednesday. Show and Tell is 7:30 every Wednesday.
Yes.
These are Eastern times.
Yes.
And on a other note, we are starting to post some of our videos. We have a TikTok account for a long time.
Yeah, TikTok.
So go to TikTok and just look for Adafruit. It's at Adafruit, that we've had at Adafruit at TikTok. And we toss videos on there. If you want to take your phone out right now, I'll give you a moment, scan the code, and you can do things on TikTok. There is a electronics community on there. There's a lot of things that were tagged Adafruit and like ESP32. So what we decided to do is like, hey, let's throw some content on there as well. A lot of people like to hang out there, so why not? Maybe we'll do a music video over there and more. It's not banned yet, so we wanted to make sure that we had a presence inside the matrix to broadcast our pirate signal.
Maybe instead of dance challenges, we should have soldering challenges.
Yeah, all sorts of things. Every Sunday we do Desk of LADYADA. On Desk of LADYADA, we go over whatever you're working on, and we also have the great search with DigiKey.
Where in the world is that part I need? The great search with DigiKey.
And yes, we sing that song each time. And then on Tuesdays we do what I think is the most innovative thing that U.S. e-commerce companies are gonna need to do or are doing.
Yeah.
So if you go to Amazon.com, once in a while you see this little light thing that turns on at the top and it says Amazon Live. And when you click it, they'll probably serve up live videos from like brand partners and all that. And like, it's usually a lot of makeup stuff.
Yeah.
But
people love makeup reviews.
yeah. Or it's like, they they bought Twitch, like Amazon bought
Yeah,
Twitch,
yeah,
so I
yeah.
think they wanted to do like a live streaming component, like a very QVC style thing. But what we do every Tuesday is JP will broadcast live from a product page. The live video for specific product is inside the product page, and we talk about that, and we have a discount only during the live show. And this is really a big deal. So on Adafruit.com, we have a little live, I think it says live now.
Yeah.
And we also have a little what's new. We added that to our site. But every week we're doing this now. We got the idea from a lot of Chinese e-commerce sites. So what they'll do is they'll actually change the prices. They'll go out and they'll say, hey, we got 10,000 people watching right now. Can you lower the price right now? Because if we get up to 10,000 people.
Yeah. It's a live interactive QVC.
Yeah, it makes our Cyber Monday look silly.
Yeah.
So we got the idea. So we think this is a neat idea, and every week on Ask an Engineer we show a highlight. So here's the highlight from JP's product pick of the week recap.
This will tell you what the product pick of the week is. It's called the APD S9960, and it has proximity sensing, ambient light sensing, gesture sensing, and color sensing for reflected light or ambient light. What I have happening here is something that you might find in a haunted house or an escape room, where you learn some gestures that you have to do in front of a painting in order to open up a lock or a door or a lockbox. And like I said, it also does regular proximity sensing, and it does ambient light sensing. So there's a lot of different things that you can use this board for. And there it is, my product pick of the week, the APD S9960.
Okay, and then on Thursdays, JP Workshop is coming up, and I have two little videos that are previews. One is the slug scoreboard, and the other one is a little skull thing. So I'm going to play one after the other, see on the other side. And every week we have Make Code Minute with JP. If you have a Circuit Playground Express, just plug it in your computer, go to makecode.adafruit.com and do a bunch of block programming. You could also do things like JavaScript and Python and more. It is the easiest, best way to do, I think, coding with electronics really fast. It's used for education, but a lot of us use it when we have to get something done fast, and we also want to explore block
It's
coding.
also very powerful. It has multi-threading capability built in, which is really
You could
cool.
do arcade stuff with it and more. So take it away. I think this week JP is doing a microbit project.
What I wanted to show on the Make Code Minute today, I have a little microbit here, and this is partly in anticipation of the microbit version 2, which has been announced coming. So I wanted to play around with a microbit V1. And what I wanted to show is that I just discovered there's a really neat feature of the display, this little LED display that's on here. You can use what they call grayscale mode, so levels of brightness instead of just on or off. So here's a simple example. If I tap this button on the right, you'll see each time I tap it, it's going to brighten that LED up. I'm just using like 5 levels of brightness on here. And what I wanted to do is show you how that works inside of Make Code. On here, you'll see I've got a initial block in onStart that says set the display mode to grayscale instead of the default of black and white. Once that's set, you have some choices in the LED categories under More for setting the overall brightness of the display. That'll just change everything. Or you can plot the brightness of individual LEDs. So that's what I'm doing in the rest of the sketch here. When I press my B button, what I do is I clear the screen, and then I plot a point at 2, 2 on X and Y to an LED brightness value, and then I'm just iterating through, adding 50 to that each time, and then looping it back over when it goes over 250 with this little division here. The more complicated one here is doing a few different loops. I've made a function that has a few different styles of sort of looping through some variables so that we can sweep across sideways and diagonally and all that fun stuff. But I think that's a really neat feature of the current V1 of the microbit. Right inside of Make Code, we can address those LEDs with different brightnesses, and that is your Make Code Minute.
All right, let's do some time traveling, look around the world, makers, hackers, artists, engineers. I know a lot of you want to just get in a time machine and go either to the past or the future, but we're stuck here in the present. Make your plans to vote, everybody. I said it at the top of the show, but it's coming up, 13 days. Get your voting plan, how you're going to get there, how you're going to get back, who you're going to help.
Go with friends.
All these things are important.
Go
Decide
family.
now because you have the opportunity. Next up in the news, Google is now 22 years old. So that means, congratulations, Google, you are going to get an antitrust suit because 22 years later after Microsoft was founded, they got an antitrust suit.
And you're going to join the party.
Now, Google, you get an antitrust suit.
Yay.
So Google has, I think, for the most part, abused their monopoly. So that's what happens. Monopolies are okay. It's just if you abuse it or not. So Google responded on Twitter, because that's what you do now. And they said, today's lawsuit by the Department of Justice is deeply flawed. People use Google because they choose to, not because they're forced to, or because they can't find alternatives. We'll have a full statement in the morning. Okay, so here's the thing. You do not have a choice if you're running a business. You have to do stuff with Google. You really don't have a choice. You don't. There's so many things that go into running a business that you have to use Google.
Here's an example of something that is a choice. Like what phone provider? Like you have a phone with one carrier and I have a phone with a different one. And
we have an emergency phone and they're not the same carrier. But even if it was the same carrier, what happens is eventually they say, well, you have a monopoly, you're abusing it. Like, so we can't get a different power company. We have Con Ed.
Yeah.
So if Con Ed does a terrible thing, they raise prices and they're just like, well, you can't have power. Or like now we're putting ads on your power.
Yeah.
That's an illegal monopoly. So the problems that companies come up against. So back in the day, people were worried that Microsoft would force everyone to use their search engine because they had the browser. Now everyone's worried that it's like, okay, Google just kind of dominates in the ad space. Now, in the past, I've talked to other CEOs at other companies and other people that have had problems. So Basecamp, Google markets against them on the search engine. Yelp results. There's all sorts of things. We had our own run-ins with Google, not related to this, but eventually you kind of remember the same things. I remember the antitrust with Microsoft. A lot of the people said, they're just being jerks at the time. Now, the antitrust stuff was helpful for Microsoft. They're a better company now. They have lots of different divisions. They embraced open source. There's more innovation. There's more money. There's more opportunities for investors. Google would be an excellent company if it was like 20 different companies, not just Alphabet in this like thing, but they were separate businesses.
I think they were trying, they clearly were trying to make it so it's like, oh, well, no, Google is part of Alphabet and they're not related. But they basically, it's still Google. Nobody calls it Alphabet.
So just related to this. So we're just Adafruit, small company compared to Google. Yeah. But our interactions with Google on the ad side weren't great. So our ads one time, because we have to have Google ads, you have to have Google listings, you have to have Google shopping. Our ads, we did a really good series of ads, like super good ad campaign. They turned it off because it was performing too well. Yeah. But it gets worse than this.
They never turned them off when the ads were not doing well.
So no, it gets worse than this. So anytime you do any type of interactions with an ad campaign or Google ads, because it's money involved, there's a log.
Yeah. When you have to do anything, of course it's a log.
Every time I touch the ads thing, there's a log. Who, what, and when, where, and how much did you spend? So it was puzzling to us because our ads got turned off. No violations, no anything. So it got escalated up to lots of different people at Google. Eventually they said, oh yeah, a human did it. Human intervention, sorry. Won't happen again. I said, great, well, can I see the logs? Because I need to know if you did this a bunch of times. No. Yeah. No, can't show them to you, don't really have them, don't have a policy. And eventually, because it was kind of a big deal what they did, and that's when I reached out to other companies that had unfair practices with Google ads. And they said, oh yeah, it sucks. This happens all the time, but they're so powerful, you can't do anything about it. So eventually they gave us a credit for that amount of time when they turned off our ads. And they would never, because they were performing too well, because they don't want your return on ad spend to be better than what they would like. Yeah. So anyways, they just wrote some good copy and it was nice images. Other things that happened with Google, they wouldn't accept your identity a bunch of times for when Google had a social network, and that turned off show and tell, and it turned off our Google phone.
No, it just everything's
connected to Google. It's really hard to find
It's like
alternatives.
their social media profile should totally control your
To
your
control.
life, right?
Yeah, it controlled everything.
Yeah.
Another thing that came up, there was a Google employee that impersonated Lamore to apply for a job at Google, and you got the return email that said thanks for applying. And we're like, what's going on? Are we
Yeah, that's
hacked or
funny.
something like that? So eventually that bubbled up to Google's lead counsel, Amy Lambert, and the whole vibe was you should be happy someone wanted you to work here. And we're like, what's the data retention policy for the fake resume the Google employee made to try to say that they hit the like female engineer quota or whatever? They're like, we don't have a data retention policy. We don't have a database of this stuff. I'm like, you're Google. Other stuff that came up with Google that we weren't happy about, YouTube told us be more like PewDiePie because nobody wants to see STEM videos. You should do makeup videos. And just like other odds and ends. So I actually get why, like, eventually, this reminds me of Microsoft because they were just like really aggressive bullies. And it was like back in the day with like, if you don't put our operating system on your computers, you're not going to be able to ship them to CompUSA anymore, Dell, like all sorts of like abuse of position, abuse of power. So we'll see. Anyways, it's big news. I personally would like to see companies not get $1 billion in funding and go bust like Quibi that happened today.
Yeah.
I'd like to see bite-sized entities with a chance to compete and not have one company control all of it with absolutely everything. At some point, I think at 22 years, that might be like, hey, like let's make a bunch of different companies and let's have those all grow versus one giant company that controls it all. Because what happens? They abuse it. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. In the end, Google will get a tiny fine and nothing's going to change. Okay, next up. Other bits of time travel is our Python and Hardware newsletter. So this week on Python and Hardware, the beta CircuitPython 6
RC
candidate 0, right?
RC 0 is coming out, and we're about to do RC 1 soon. Lots of improvements that are being made, bugs being squished. If you have a bug, post up an issue in the GitHub repo because we're definitely looking to squish any remaining bugs. Whenever we introduce new features, new capabilities, there's a stray null pointer here and there, but we're gonna squish them
We need you to break things.
so we can get 6.0 to be stable.
Yeah. In the newsletter, you should go to adafruitdaily.com. In the newsletter this week, Lady talked about the release candidate. There is a new microbit version 2 in Raspberry Pi compute module. That means Python
New hardware.
The microbit, and that means Blinka is going to be able to run on all the CircuitPython. All the Blinka CircuitPython stuff is going to be able to run on the Raspberry Pi modules. Last call for $8 shipping. Why Python's a perfect language. Interesting article. And it goes over a lot of things that we've talked about. If you want to do machine learning, if you want to do vision stuff, if you want to do science, you want to do medicine, you want to do whatever you want to do, Python, batteries included language.
Yeah.
This Friday, Scott has a deep dive. We have some Adafruit updates, Hacktoberfest, the survey results. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we opted into the Hacktober. We're one of the. You have to opt in now, and we're opted in. So if you want to join in, go to CircuitPython.
Yeah.
Under Adafruit.
We have some more updates and guides. A lot of folks are playing Among Us, the game, and someone did a really neat panels that go along with that. You can see that project. You can use the EduBit with CircuitPython.
Yay!
There's a lot of neat things that are going on with like CircuitPython installing on other boards. You can install it on the Seed Studio shell. And last up, some MicroPython, some release cycle graphics so you can see how
You can see Python 2.7 just like me.
you can see how Python has evolved over
Goes
time.
on for 10 years.
It's been going on for a while.
But now we're done with that.
And we have some previews that we're going to get to at the end of Ask an Engineer with some of our show and tells. We are up to 276 libraries. That is a whole bunch. And you can look at all the updates from the team, including Chipler's calculator.
Projects, hardware, guides, tutorials. Everyone's working on a little different part of the CircuitPython puzzle.
Yep. And that
It's a team
is
effort.
the newsletter for this week.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Open source hardware. We're an open source hardware company. It's Open Source Hardware Month. The survey results that we were just talking about was released. This is interesting. So have you ever used open source? I just pulled one bit of graphic here. And of course, if they took the survey, they did. So most people who took the survey used open source hardware.
And
Now-
there's some people who are going to get introduced to it.
Now, the thing is, I did a little quick blog post and I tweeted, 40% of all of the certified open source hardware is from women
Yes.
because they came from Adafruit.
That's
So
right.
we're
And I'm a women's.
a minority woman-owned enterprise. We got certified with New York City. We're very proud of this. But in the electronics community and the industry that we're in, this is really rare. So to be able to say 40% of all the certified open source hardware, that means files, that means code, that means good license, that means other people can do stuff with it.
Yes.
Comes from a woman-owned company, and I get to say 40% because there's other women
the
that
only one.
have
Yeah,
certified
yeah.
hardware. I think that's a big deal that no one's gonna ever talk about, because if you think about it, at one point, like, most doctors are male. Now
Most are female.
most are female. Most men go to college. Now mostly women. So eventually this is not going to be news. It'll be like, oh yeah, of course, like whatever. Like it's probably going to be 50-50 or
Yeah, yeah.
whatever. So we think this is neat. It's cool. And there's a lot of things that the Open Source Hardware Association has been doing. The thing that came out today is the Open Source Hardware Weather Report. And I wanted to show this off quickly.
Yeah.
You can go to oshwa.org, and this is the report. It's by Clarissa Redwine and Michael Weinberg and a whole bunch of people. I helped out with it a little bit. You did too. And it's basically a bunch of things that you probably always want to know. Terminology, brief background, using it as a tool, hardware, not software. Does it make sense to do open source hardware? I can finally send this to someone because it doesn't make sense for everybody, because some folks think, well, if I do it, I'm just giving everything away. No, if you do commercial hardware, someone's going to copy it. So don't think that open source hardware is just a marketing term, and also don't think everyone's going to copy it, and also don't think that you're not going to be successful because of it. There's a lot of things that go into it, and I think this document is like the first time I've seen a lot of things covered in one spot. When does it not make sense to do open source hardware? Are there unresolved challenges in the open source hardware community? Opportunities for open hardware? Conclusion, appendix, and more. This is the best, most comprehensive
And
open
it's
source
beautiful.
hardware document I've ever seen. I know what type of work that goes into this. This was a huge amount of work. It's on GitHub. There's a wiki. You can do pull requests. This is a neat framework that I think they'll carry forward. It is really good. Congratulations, everyone on the team that worked on this. Go team. Now, there's another piece of
Hey,
it.
wait, look.
Well, there's another piece of it. At the end, there's an appendix.
Yeah.
Top open source hardware certifications by country.
Oh, who's number one?
Now,
Who's number one? Who's number one?
let's do it by country first.
Okay, country.
By country, the U.S. is
USA.
The U.S. is
USA.
number one in all sorts of things, like
Yay!
infections
No.
right now. We're number one in all sorts of things. But here's something good we're number one at: open source hardware.
Yay.
And for entities, number one by a huge margin, Adafruit.
Fruits.
So there's more certifications now, but we're about
That's because we open source certify
yeah,
everything.
we're about 39% of the certified open source hardware right now.
Well, I'm going to get
And
more boards out.
We did this over the COVID time. We had some cycles for some of our team,
Yeah.
and we said, hey, like we have to deal with keeping our team safe, and can you just start working on the certifications? Because we got, some people were nice, but there was a couple like really mean people. They're like, you're not really open source because you didn't get anything certified. And we did have like 3 or 4 things certified. We were just busy making the hardware.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, like, don't be a jerk, but like, we're gonna get to it. So now we're like the tops. And then so today I got a message that said, obviously this is inaccurate because there's so many Adafruit things in it. Yeah. So that's how it goes. Obviously it can't be that much. So anyhow, so check it out. But speaking of, the one way we like to prove we're an open source hardware company is we like to do guides. We have 2,324. LADYADA was on the big board this week.
I'm glad you asked. We had so many. I actually have to scroll. Okay. We have, I think last week we did the LED neon selfie spot, and Carter did the face mask efficacy testing with science guide, which is pretty cool. He took a really powerful laser and used a Raspberry Pi and some basic machine vision to test out masks. I just thought, like, there's people who are probably going to be doing science projects at home, and this is a good one. Just be careful with that laser. Kenny did a guide on using the Adafruit Cutie Pie with CircuitPython and NeoPix LEDs just to get started. A lot of people just want basic cosplay LED blinking stuff. From, I think, Deborah, also known as Geek Mom. We have a cool color mixing Cutie Pie cuff bracelet that uses a USB-C as like a cuff connector. It's a very fun, funky design. Check it out. She's got a lot of interesting crafting techniques in there. Scrolling up. From Brent, we've got an Adafruit IO based IoT air quality sensor. A lot of people are living in places now that are on fire. So you want to know your air quality. Using our weatherproof boxes and cable glands, you can now make an outdoor high quality air quality sensor that you program yourself, and the data is local. If you use like other services like Purple Air, they're very cool, but you don't like own the data. It goes off into the cloud and it's closed source, and there's no way to query the data, like to add data to it with your own sensors. So this, especially if you want to add extra sensors or sensing capabilities, and of course you can plot and graph it on Adafruit.io. Phil B did a guide on how to do gamma correction for RGB LED matrices. This is really important because a lot of times we've done projects with TFT displays. TFT displays have built-in gamma correction. It's part of like the configuration when you set up the TFT. RGB matrices, however, do not have built-in gamma correction. Now, it would be great if we could get gamma correction to our LED matrix driver, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. It's not easy to do it right. So instead, what you should do is you should gamma correct your images. And there's two scripts that Phil B shows you how to use. One that uses Image Magic, which is the basis of pretty much every project eventually. Image Magic is just like a key important part. It's like the Emacs of electronic projects. And then also a Python script. So you can do bitmaps and GIFs and JPEGs and stuff. Get them into the right format so that you can display them on a RGB matrix and they look really good. Nan Pedro did a Halloween M4 based tombstone with an LED eye and some LED diffusion. I'll show the video shortly. Melissa wrote a guide on how to create custom projects with a Matrix portal and CircuitPython. We have a bunch of guides. Maybe you want to make your own. You have a data source, you want to scroll it, you want to show it on a matrix using the built-in Wi-Fi. Well, we have a library that helps you do that called the Matrix Portal Library. But how do you use it and what can it do? Well, in addition to looking at all the examples, Melissa wrote a lovely guide that takes you step by step on how the quote board project was developed and designed using the Matrix Portal Library. So, and Brent says it's awesome. So thanks, Brent. JP did a Matrix Portal scoreboard project using Adafruit.io. So you can use your phone to set the score, and then you're going to have a big LED matrix display mounted somewhere, and the score will update automatically through the magic of the internets. Jeff Epler used a short memory display to create a custom RPN desktop calculator. What's neat about this is that he wrote a true decimal number management library, so you're not using floating points, you're actually using like infinite precision numbers. So when you add like multiple decimals together, you get like the actual number, not like a somewhat rounded number based on whether there's a true floating point. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you add them, you get error offsets, and you don't quite get like 0.1 plus 0.1 is like 1.99999. You don't get that, you actually get like 0.2. So it's very handy, especially for people who are doing other like calculator or mathematics projects and they want perfect precision. It's also just a great like calculator project you want to build, and uses the new short memory display in CircuitPython. Aaron made a Matrix Portal RGB display. So if you made one of these previous RGB Matrix projects and you want to put it into your bag, like you want to make this cool voting animation sign, she shows you how to do that, how to craft, like use any bag you have, tips and techniques to keep your LED matrix safe but visible.
We have a 1 minute video we'll play after this.
We'll have a video, that's right. And then Melissa, 2 guides in a week, also wrote how to use Google Assistant with a Braincraft hat. So we're doing more machine learning projects. In fact, we have a demo we'll show later with the voice bonnet using the same code from this library. So you can make your own DIY voice assistant using Google. It's free.
Yeah.
You just need something that has microphones and a speaker, like the voice bonnet, or the Braincraft hat.
Yeah, we'll show this off soon. This is probably going to be one of the big holiday gifts because there's no easy way to do machine learning, and I think we cracked it. We've been working on this for a year, and it's shipping now. So we'll get to that later on during new products. Let's take a look at what Aaron's up to.
All right, Aaron, take it away.
some main New York City factory footage. There's a bunch of art that is around everywhere on the streets, so we take photos of it as we're walking around. This is some Giuliani art that went up. This is before we knew about the whole Borat thing today, by the way. And then this is just taping up some stuff, getting ready.
Making the kits.
Here's some boxing up of things.
Ooh, a nice kitting table.
Yeah,
It's a nice
we
kitting
built it.
table. We built it. It's custom, designed for making kits.
This is the PCB.
Yeah, these are the inserts. So
the inserts.
These are the things that protect the PCBs because they come scored, and you want to make sure they don't crack in shipment. And so on the front and back, there's these like particle board pieces, and these are the back pieces for the drills. So this is also, as you can see, like this was used for some via drills or some through-hole drills, and then after they're done, they recycle them. The PCB house does, but they're kind of cool, like found art.
Here's some boards coming
This
out.
looks like DRV 8871 driver board. It's a very popular, high-powered DC driver chip.
And it wouldn't be New York City factory footage without the view from outside our window. This is the Disney building across the street. It's actually a giant underground vault where they're going to put all the gold that everyone's giving them because everyone signed up for Disney Plus to watch The Mandalorian. So they have to make a secret underground vault. That's what they're building across the street. Okay, 3D printing.
Like your theory is
not a
going to
theory.
expand.
You saw DuckTales and Scrooge McDuck swimming through a gold vault. They are telling everyone what they're doing. When Scrooge McDuck says he's going to do something, believe him. Anyways.
Time for 3D printing.
Yeah, so we have two videos. We're going to play them back to back. This is the Halloween, and then we have a speed up.
Okay. Spooky.
Hey, what's up folks? In this project we're making a tombstone with Adafruit's Halloween M4. This Halloween we wanted to make a light up tombstone with NeoPixels and an animated eye. The Halloween M4 is packed with tons of sensors and features that crispy IPS display. The pumpkin spice flavored silk is sure to make your Halloween projects extra this year. We designed and 3D printed these parts to make a tombstone that snap fits together. It's got a Victorian style aesthetic, so it has some floral elements and some nice details. Black LED acrylic is used to make the faceplate with vinyl graphics added on top. This makes a light up sign that you could customize with your own message or some spooky graphics. The Halloween M4 project was written by Philip Burgess and it uses Adafruit's libraries for Arduino. Be sure to follow the build from source page to properly upload the code to your Halloween M4. The user NeoPixel file allows you to enable NeoPixel animations. This lets you run the rainbow cycle while animating the eye on the display. Check out the other examples for adding cap touch, servo control, and even heat sensing. You'll want to select your board profile and use the tiny USB option. You can get the code for this project from the GitHub repo linked in the Learn Guide. We 3D printed the parts without any support material using PLA filament. You can use the port on the side of the Halloween to easily plug in a strip of NeoPixels. This can be a solder-free project, which is nice if you want to get your projects quickly up and running. The Halloween M4 is secured to the faceplate using some machine screws. We made some decals on our vinyl cutter and added them to this piece of black LED acrylic. We found the black LED acrylic lights up the best when it's positioned away from a light source. We attached the strip of NeoPixels to the back cover using double-sided Nitto-tape. The back cover snap fits into the frame of the tombstone, which makes this an easy assembly. I hope this inspires you to pick up a Halloween M4 and make some cool projects. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more projects from Adafruit.
And don't forget, every single Wednesday, 3D Hangouts with Noah and Pedro, the longest running 3D printing program out there. They're up to episode like 304 now. All right, Lady Ada. Well, it is time. Are you ready?
Yes.
DigiKey and Adafruit present. This week's Eye on MPI is from Bosch.
That's right. Bosch, we're on a little bit of a sensor streak. A lot of cool sensors just came out. So this week we're going to be featuring a Bosch sensor. This is the BMP 390, which is the latest in a long generational stretch of barometric pressure sensors from Bosch. So the BMP 390 is very small. It's 2 millimeter by 2 millimeter. It does temperature and barometric pressure. It is pin compatible with the BMP 388. So if you like the BMP 388, you're gonna love the 390. So the thing that's new about the BMP 390 is it improves on the accuracy and precision of the earlier BMP sensors. So basically every year or so there's a new generation of BMP sensor. And each time they get a little bit better at having a more precise or more accurate barometric pressure reading. So, for example, I don't know, man, this must have been like 7, 8, 9 years ago. The BMP 085 came out, and that was a I2C barometric pressure sensor that could do, I think it was plus or minus a couple meters. Then the BMP 180, this one improved. You can see that it got a little bit smaller, and I think it had a meter or so precision. Then the BMP 280, which is actually still quite popular. It's one of our most popular barometric pressure sensors. And this one, again, it has slightly better accuracy. And then about a year ago was the BMP 388, which is like the last generation. And one of the nice things that they added in the last couple generations is that both I2C and SPI interface. So barometric pressure sensors, what are they good for? Well, they're good for a couple things, especially the ones that are very high accuracy or precision. So one thing that's really nice about them is you can use them indoor for positioning. It's very hard to get GPS data indoors, but if all you need to know is how high something is, how far it is off the ground, barometric pressure sensors, you don't need to have any satellites. They just use barometric pressure to do it. You can pair them up with a GPS. A GPS will give you latitude and longitude, but only within a couple meters. By adding a precision barometric pressure sensor, you can greatly improve the altitude calculation. Go back. For accurate fitness tracking and calorie counting, so when they know how many steps you've taken, or if you're biking and they want your altitude, the higher altitude, the more you have to work, of course. And then again, more indoor navigation. You can use time of flight stuff to determine how far you are from, or RSSI readings to tell you how far you are from a base station. But then using a barometric pressure sensor can give you altitude. So how do you do the altitude calculation? Well, it's actually kind of a well-known, mathematical calculation. If you know the barometric pressure, well, actually, here's the deal. When you know the barometric pressure of two different altitudes, you can tell how far apart those two altitudes are. So as I raise something up 10 meters, I can measure the barometric pressure change, and I can use it to calculate how much I moved up and down. If you know the barometric pressure at sea level, which is a commonly published piece of data you can get on any weather report, like today was 1034 hectopascals, you can then use that to calculate the sensor's absolute altitude, right? You have to have the reference altitude, though. You can't just always assume what the sea pressure is, so you do have to look that up. But especially for IoT devices that can get data from the internet, it's a commonly available number. You get that number, and then you can calculate the altitude. Another thing you can do with barometric pressure sensors is do weather prediction calculation. You may have seen one of these. We had one of these in my home when I grew up. Now they're digital. These, of course, these barometric pressure sensors. But these simple barometers would translate high and low pressure into the chance of rain or sun or clouds. You may also watch the news, or you look in the paper and you see like these maps, right, and have like these L's and H's floating through the sky. No, not really. What these show you is where there's high pressure, H, and low pressure. And you can even see next to the pressure like 1009, that's low, or 1029, that's high, that's in hectopascals again. Low pressure means air is coming in, you're going to get clouds, you're going to get rain, you're going to get a storm. High pressure means air is moving out, so you're going to have clear skies and a sunny weather you're going to get in the winter, for example. So the BMP 390, thankfully Bosch has written a library to interface with it, and over the weekend we added it to our Arduino library. So if you would like to try out the BMP 390, we have code that's been upgraded to now use their new API v2, which you can also add into your devices. Their library is a kind of a pure C library. You have to hook it into whatever does I2C or SPI in your hardware. So you can use it with Mbed or Zephyr or Raspberry Pi or whatever. But we have it already working for Arduino. We even had somebody who's already like, I just tried it and it works great. So I know it works. So I tested it and someone else tested it. So.
All right. And you can get this on DigiKey, digikey.com. And the part numbers, they're long. So you're going to want to use a short URL, ZN2P. FN, but you could also just search for the sensor and you'll be able to find it.
Yeah, available on Ket Tape and Tape and Reel. I think this is the only place that has them right now. I picked up a couple earlier today, so I'm going to make a breakout. And they're pin compatible with the BMP 388. So the code's a little bit different, but the pinouts the same. And so I put together a little demo.
Yeah, do you want to play the video or do you want to do the demo?
How about we show the demo and then the video and we'll kick out. Okay, so here I've got just a feather, and I've got an OLED display, and I'm showing the temperature. I'm showing the barometric pressure, so you see it's a little low. That's because it's kind of stormy today. So the barometric pressure in hectopascals, and the estimated altitude. So before we did the show, I went upstairs, I looked at what is the air pressure at sea level in New York City, and I entered it in. And so it's telling us it's about 20 or so meters above sea level. And here's something cool. As I raise this up, you can actually see this number increase. So you can actually measure within 25 centimeters is the published accuracy, the published precision of this sensor. So you move it up, goes from 21 to 22.01 or so. So you can measure a couple centimeters. So great for drones, for example, we need to do precision altitude calculations.
All right, and they have a little video. It's about a minute and a half. Take it away, Bosch. So that's the MPI for this week, and don't forget you can get that over on DigiKey, and that is this week's Eye on MPI.
Eye on MPI.
All right, we got a full show. We're just going to keep moving right along. Are you
Yes.
ready for some new products?
Yes, new, 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 new.
All right, so we got some new products. If you haven't already, get an AdaBox because you'll get it.
It's like the last day you can do
You'll
it.
get it like, next week or so.
Yeah.
So adabox.com, easy way to remember. Just go there, sign up, get a subscription. A lot of folks were very nice and didn't say what it is. They just said they really like it. So
Aw.
very nice of them.
And very Halloween themed.
All right, so Raspberry Pi announced a bunch of stuff. These are all coming soon. Sign up. As soon as we get them, you get an email, and then you get them first.
Yes.
So that's the best thing to do is sign up.
Okay, so the compute module, this is really neat because for a while there's been Raspberry Pi compute modules that were SIM-based and they would like snap in. Now they're much like more like rectangular, squarish, and they've been upgraded to the Raspberry Pi 4, so they're like super powerful, and they have a bunch of different variants. Sorry, so let's go here. So let's talk about the variants. So the core is going to be the same. You still get a Raspberry Pi 4 chip. The power supply and the pinout is the same. But you can get it with or without Wi-Fi. It's like basically like $5 more if you want the Wi-Fi edition. And you can get it with a different range of RAM, starting from like 1 gigabyte up to 8 gigabytes of RAM. And you can get it with or without eMCC, so it's onboard memory, so you don't need a separate SD card. eMCC is also eMMC is also pretty fast. I don't have speed checks, but I would guess it's faster than SD card. You can get it in a range of like, I think from 8 up to like 64 gigabytes or something. Right now we have the coming soon just for the Lite, which is the least expensive version. It's kind of like the the Raspberry Pi A Plus of the Pi 4, without Wi-Fi and without MMC. However, we will carry a wide range of them. We're basically seeing which ones we can get. So, the ones that we put in the store are the ones that we can carry. But it's neat. There's even an external Wi-Fi connector option. There's a Wi-Fi switch. So you could use the internal onboard PCB antenna, or you can connect an external Wi-Fi antenna.
Yeah, so here's some of the other...
And this is the accessory board. So this is the I/O board for the Raspberry Pi. So this is kind of like everything you could possibly do with it. So if you're like a developer, because a lot of people are buying these boards for industrial usage, although I think there's some maker projects that could benefit from it as well. You can basically choose like how many HDMI ports, how many USB ports. Do you want Ethernet? Do you not want Ethernet? Do you want looks like there's a real-time clock on there. There's two MIPI connectors, two camera connectors. So you can do like stereo vision. This is like pretty cool stuff. So this camera I/O board. You have like a Pi hat connector. This is everything you can add in, and you can see that the two Hiroshi connectors that you snap on. So it's a new form factor for the Raspberry Pi compute module, but I think it's a winner because there's a lot of pins and they're high speed. So you'll be able to do, like if you want to pass those HDMI connections over there, not a problem. MIPI, not a problem. CSI, not a problem. High speed GPIO, also not a problem. So the cost, the size, I think this is going to be really popular. I want to make some accessories for this too. I think it's going to be a great little add-on, like a super hyper feather type thing. There's also a Wi-Fi antenna kit for, again, you don't need the Wi-Fi antenna for the compute module, but if you are putting it in an enclosure, especially a metal enclosure, you're going to want this antenna because first off, it's outside, it'll get you better range. Also, it's certified with this antenna, and it's only like $5 or so. And you get the UFL connector and the antenna. What a deal. So then we have, there's an image showing how the antenna connects, and then this is the UFL. So you can see that little chip next to the UFL. That's the antenna switch. So it automatically detects when a UFL Wi-Fi antenna is attached. It'll switch over. Very handy. This is the connector on the module. I'll find the part number. We'll post it up on the product page, but it's basically, I think, looks like it's 80 pins, and there's 2 of them. So they sit nice and flat. Also, it reminds me a little bit of the Portena, same sort of thing. So coming soon, sign up, and we'll notify you as soon as we get them. I don't know that there are going to be a lot of them available before the end of the year, but definitely in 2021 you'll be able to get bulk quantities of these.
Okay, well, speaking of 2021, which we'll eventually get to, we're stuck in 2020, and
That's
that
right.
means For the holidays, or for now, or just as a gift, or buy it for yourself, we have PPE packs. So we have basic packs, we have packs with even more.
Yeah.
So we have this one. This comes with
Yeah, it
mask.
comes with a face shield. It comes with the no touchy. It comes with filtration mask. It comes with ear savers, which are really handy. It comes with disposable masks. Comes with a Fahrenheit thermometer. We also have ones with like fabric masks.
Yeah.
We have like basically 3 kits, and they're like $30, $50, and about
Yeah,
$100.
this one has more stuff in it.
Yeah,
Comes with
so you get
lots of different things.
more and more, and you can share them with the family
Yeah.
or just for yourself.
So, give the gift of not getting infected.
Yay.
All right, next up.
Okay, next up, these are cool. So we've been carrying this material in like tape strips, and now we have it in sheets. So people emailed us and said, hey, can you carry this material in sheet format? And I said, yeah, sure. This is conductive metallic nylon. So you can't solder to it, but you can sew to it, and you can cut it very easily as well. So for example, I've got here Circuit Playground Express, and there's all these pads, and these are capacitive touch pads. And this is just a piece of the material, and I made it into a heart, and then I just, it's got a little Powerpuff Girl. I taped it onto the capacitive touch contact, and when I plug it in, when I touch, it basically acts as a gigantic capacitive touch pad. So it's great for, if you want to pass power or signal, great for capacitive touch as well, because it's the conductive glue on the bottom means that you can just like glue it onto the thing, and then you just extend the conductivity. You don't have to use it with the paper backing off, but you can remove the paper backing and stick it onto something, and it's flexible. And compared to copper tape, it doesn't crack, which I really like.
Yeah.
And again, you can sew to it, you can cut to it. Feels pretty good to the hand. It looks pretty cool. It's got like a silvery finish to it. You get 3 packs of 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter.
Okay, and tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. We have a coming soon-ish, and also 2 stars of show, so kind of 3 altogether, because this is a big
Yeah.
deal. This is the new Metro ESP32 S2 Express.
Okay, this was coming soon a couple weeks ago, but it's now like coming sooner because we made a bunch, and
Yeah.
now we're going through testing. We didn't get them in before the show because I have to fix the tester, but they're still rephotoed, so you can check it out. ESP32 S2 Express Metro has the latest ESP chip on it. It's Wi-Fi capable, but it's also got native USB, so you can run CircuitPython or Arduino. It also has built-in battery charging capability. You want to zoom in? Okay, so close. So close. All right, back it up. Okay, good. It's got the Arduino Uno pinouts. It's got a LiPo battery input and battery charging circuitry. It's got a boot 0 pin, a reset, USB-C. People are like, we want USB-C. Well, we're finally there. STEMMA QT I2C connector. You can also use it with Quick Connect sensors and devices. DC input and on-off switch, so you can turn off the Wi-Fi chipset. Optional debug port, both a UART debug and also a JTAG debug if you'd like that. A little NeoPixel on there, SPI on the analog, and GPIO pins that your heart can stomach, so your stomach and heart. So coming soon. Sign up. We'll almost certainly have them later this week or next week.
All right, we got some e-ink displays.
Yeah, this is a new e-ink. This is a grayscale e-ink, which is cool. So shown here, this is a picture of Phil. This is a picture of AdaBot. And what's interesting about this display is, it can do partial updates, but it can also do grayscale by kind of hacking the display lookup table. This is, it's officially sanctioned way to do it. You can turn what is normally a monochrome display to show 4 levels of darkness. So like the white background color, the light gray, dark gray, and then black. So you can also use it in monochrome mode, but the fact that it's grayscale I think is pretty cool. And it's available as a feather wing. So you just plug in any feather you like. It comes with 3 buttons, so that's kind of nice. You can make little user interfaces. It has an SD card, has a reset button. It has built-in SRAM, so even if you're using something as simple as a Feather 32U4 or a Feather 328, you don't have enough RAM for the entire display, that's okay. The onboard SRAM acts as a buffer for you. and it's part of our Think Ink series. So this is a 2.9-inch EPD display. It's about like 300 by 130 pixels, and guide coming soon. But this is a pretty cool display. I like it. I like the grayscale.
All right, and continuing on with the stars of the show, besides our community, besides you, Lady, besides our employees, besides our community, is
the voice bonnet. So this is a new bonnet, kind of based off of our Braincraft series. So we showed you the Braincraft hat and the voice control project and vision projects. Well, if you're only doing voice projects or you're just doing audio projects in general, what's nice about this bonnet is it works with any Raspberry Pi with a 2x20 connector. It has a WM8960 codec, which has dual analog inputs, so you have a left mic and a right mic, and it's got stereo outputs. There's headphone stereo. You can plug in line out or headphones if you don't want to have speakers. And we also have 2 speaker ports. Each one is 1 watt. You can put 1 speaker or 2 speakers, up to you. Stereo if you want, mono if you don't. And we added a couple extras as well. So on the very left, you see a button. So that's can be used, we'll show the demo, with voice control projects when you want to tell it to start listening or you want to activate it. To the right of that, there's an on-off switch. So that turns on and off the codec itself. So if you want to make sure that there's no way that the bonnet can be listening in on you, you physically are turning off the microphones, there's no way for microphone to be listening to you, use the off switch. So that's a new feature in a lot of voice control or voice assistant.
We've been trying to get
products.
everyone to do it for 10 years, and some companies are.
Yeah, and we are adding it as well, but we were first. There's also 3 dot star LEDs, so you can set them to various colors. It's a good way to have a basic visual feedback when you're doing audio projects, if something's running or not. You see there's the headphone jack, and then there's a STEMMA QT connector for connecting I2C sensors or devices. There's also 1 STEMMA JST 3-pin connector on GPIO 12, so you can connect a servo or relay or NeoPixels. All those work with the voice bonnet as well. And so I thought I'd show a little demo that I put together. So this is on a Pi 4.
Yeah, let's zoom in so you can see the text on the screen. too.
Well, I have to show the LEDs, so
Yeah.
I don't want to hide. And this is fine.
You like that? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll do that.
This is fine. I can always put this over here. So in this demo, I've taken the Google Voice Assistant, which is a free Python program you can run on a Raspberry Pi, and it will basically act as a Google Assistant. But I've updated it to take advantage of all the cool hardware. Like, for example, it uses the OLED display to tell you it's ready for a new request. It also is red, telling you okay, it's waiting for a new request. To make a new request, you have to press the button. Hey Google, what time is it? And then
It's now 7 p.m.
thank you. It'll print out what the Google Assistant thinks you said, and then it'll speak the answer. Hey Google, what's the capital of Alaska?
Juneau is the capital of Alaska.
Very good.
See if it knows us.
Okay. Hey Google, what's an Adafruit?
According to Wikipedia, Adafruit Industries is an open-source hardware company based in New York City. It was founded by Limmer Fried in 2005. The company designs, manufactures, and sells a number of electronics products, electronics components, tools, and accessories.
Mostly true.
That's a pretty
Right.
good job. So this just shows you what's neat is not only am I writing the script, but it was really easy to update the Python code to use CircuitPython, so I could have a display, to have buttons, to have these RGB LEDs give you feedback. So I think for projects with voice recognition or audio playback where we have the really cool Pomeroni Pirate audio series that have display, but if you need a microphone input and if you don't need a display, I think this is an excellent add-on to any Raspberry Pi computer. I can use it from a 0 up to a Pi 4 and beyond.
That's some products.
No.
Okay, go ahead over to Discord. We'll start answering questions soon, but we're going to do top secret for a couple minutes, so you can start lining those up. Join us over there. From the vault, let's start off. We're going to play 3 videos in a row, and then we're going to look at 2 PCBs. So take it away past us. Okay, lady, what is this?
This is a Metro ESP32S2, and it's time to design a tester. I'm using a Raspberry Pi. The reason I like the Raspberry Pi is I can run ESP tool on it for really fast programming. And then I have the Metro test itself. And then once it passes test, as you see, it loads Python on. It's going to ship with CircuitPython 6.0 release candidate 0. And then people can always, of course, upgrade to the latest version as we do more versions of 6. So it's Arduino Uno shaped, so you can use shields. It's got an ESP32S2 rover, so it's got PSRAM, DC power, USB-C, optional debug port, STEMMA QT connector, and a LiPo battery port. All right, looks like it passed. We got that rainbow swirl. That's how you know it's good to ship. More rainbows. Hey, I'm working on a new prototype. I just got these PCBs in. This is a 2.9-inch grayscale e-ink display, and I've got 4 neopixels. Well, I got to solder in the other 3, but it's got neopixels up top that are like edgelets. You can light up this display. It's got 4 buttons down here, and on the back, I've got a battery and battery charger, STEMMA QT port, a buzzer, USB-C, and it stars an ESP32S2 Wi-Fi module which will run CircuitPython. And it's got PSRAM and all the goodies for Wi-Fi quickness. So I'm going to do a couple changes. I'm going to add a light sensor. You recommended a light sensor. And I'm going to get this accelerometer working. And then we're going to have some fun Wi-Fi e-ink projects featuring CircuitPython. That's the magic.
All right, LADYADA, what is this?
Hey, this is another demo for the e-ink portal that I've been working on. This one, it's running CircuitPython, actually, and getting the price of Bitcoin from Coinbase and also displaying the time. I got all 4 of the NeoPixels working, and then these buttons also do stuff. And there's a piezo, you can hear the buzzer working. And this is the back. And I got the battery, ESP32S2, and then I put these magnet connectors on. These are like from RGB matrices, so then I can attach it to pretty much anything you want that's magnetic or metallic that magnets will stick to. So very handy way to easily mount it and battery power your e-ink display.
All right, and then we have 2 things that we posted up.
Yep, I got some QT Py boards, NPR 121 capacitive touch, so upgrading our current design to plug and play. And this is an ESP32S2 board that's in a Pi Zero form factor. Turns out you have the exact right number of pins. So that'd be kind of fun, especially since you have 2 USB connections, one for native USB and one for debug. Could be interesting.
All right, we're going to go and answer some questions. I have some lined up right now.
Yeah.
This one's a long one, so but luckily I can respond to it fast. So Carp DM has an issue with the dot star ultra bars not behaving as per the datasheet, and they posted up in the forums. And I looked at the forum post. It looks like you just posted it at 6:47 p.m. as a follow-up. So just let our team take a look at it because you have a bunch of information there. So give them a chance to take a look at it. And if it doesn't work out, you can always return the product. But let the engineers give them a chance to answer it. Next up. Question for the OLED displays. There's a warning not to run them over 1,000 hours or they'll start to dim. Is this the total lifetime, cumulative hours, or just not continuously for long periods? Either way.
That's the pixel itself. So each pixel should not be run for more than 1,000 hours. It'll dim. It's an organic LED display. It'll eventually be less bright. And you'll notice it if you keep a display on for a very long period of time.
All right. If you had to start a new format, not Metro, not Feather, not QT Py, board, what would you not include in it?
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, you just look at what you're trying to do with it, and then build a couple projects, and you'll quickly learn what's essential and what isn't.
I would say like QT Py, we did not include headers because it's not a board that does that. It's not like a Feather. It's not going to have an accessory.
Yeah,
it has a STEMMA port.
Well, it doesn't have a battery charger.
Yeah.
If you want a battery charger, you should get a Feather. It doesn't do everything.
Okay. Next, does Adafruit offer any or plan to read writer boards for the 125 kilohertz band for RFID?
Nope, not this time.
Ones that use the EM4100 spec. This works with the Galaxy Edge cyber crystals. Hoping to build my own holocron that reads cybers.
I don't have one. We do. I think like 3
question.
megahertz.
How would you have survived COVID 2020 if if it happened when Adafruit was much smaller, it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, it's actually easier. It's
Yeah.
it's tougher when you have a lot of people to manage and,
Yeah,
and
if it was
scheduling.
if it was
tougher.
smaller, it would be a lot easier. Like Adafruit we have 130 people and we're paying them, and there's healthcare and 401ks and there's everything that makes it a good place to work. When the cash stops coming in, you have tough choices that you might have to make. So it's really hard. The more people you have, the harder it is. And it's not like we don't have loans, we don't have venture capital, we're not publicly held. So it's every dollar is earned. So thank you for your orders. Next up, with the deprecation of 2G, I need a LTE phone aboard. All my remote monitoring is dead. Helpless LADYADA and hope. So lots of things are changing with the 2G and 3G world. So just stay tuned.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's a good replacement yet. Some parts still have all these networks. Some parts of the world don't.
Check out the particle board. I mean, I'm wearing the particle shirt, but they have LTE
Yeah.
stuff, and they're really good at it.
Okay. On the new Metro, what's the odd shape hex pad that's not populated?
There's no hex pad. If you're talking about, the pad breakout that lets you measure the battery voltage.
Whoops, skip one. When Adafruit first started, how did you afford inventory? You did not raise money or take loans, but inventory buildup is a lot of out-of-pocket. How do you do it now? How do you do it now, investing in inventory? So in the beginning, what you do...
We just didn't have very much.
Yeah, so like we were making... You can watch the ASKAN engineers from like over 10 years ago. It was like me at the shipping station and Lamore was kidding. So what we did is every dollar we got, so we'd have a little bit of money and we'd buy a little bit of parts. And then you do something with them and make them valuable or more valuable, and you ship them to people. And they give you money, and then you save that money, and then you use it to buy a little bit more stuff.
Yeah.
And then you just keep doing that. And we've been doing this for over a decade. And we're sturdy. I think that's one of the reasons that we're still around.
Very slowly.
Yeah, we're still
Very,
around.
very slowly.
And we're withstanding, this is the worst time for pretty much everyone alive right now. This is not a good time. So we tried to build a anti-fragile company, something that could have... we got tested during Sandy.
Yeah.
Sandy, we made it through, and that was, just 2 weeks. This is now going on 8 months. Next up. Thanks for answering that. Let's see. Yeah, I have an Ada Flower hat. It's true, I do. Have you tried LoRa? There's a satellite LoRa nowadays, by the way. Oh, I think this was for someone else.
Yeah.
For the questions about the 2G stuff. Yeah, you might want to try LoRa. Okay, let's see. Shout out from the West Coast, Canada. Your stuff is everywhere. What soldering iron do you like?
I like the Hackos and I have Metcals. They're, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you like. They all have their own pros and cons.
Will the Metro Wi-Fi board be like Arduino Wi-Fi Rev 2, or will it be different AT commands?
This Metro ESP32S2 is native Wi-Fi, so you don't use AT commands. You call the ESP IDF, which handles all the SSL and socket management for you.
Let's see. This was an older question. Do we have a replacement program for damaged goods? Yeah, if you get something shipping that's damaged, just email support@adafruit.com and they replace it. Let's see. Already asked the RFID one. Someone's trying to make a weather beacon out of Arduino and some sensors. They plan to make it simple as possible without any reliance on the internet. Just pure radio Morse code on 140 megahertz. And I'm thinking should add a buzzer for people nearby to listen to the Morse code for weather data. So I guess it would weather data and then it would boop beep 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 beep.
That sounds cool. Yeah. Do an OLED or a piezo. That could be kind of fun.
Yeah. All right. Folks in Canada already got their Ada boxes.
Yay!
So, okay. Let's see here. What was the stuff you learned from Sandy that has helped you survive better during COVID? Oh, well, you should plan ahead for business shutdowns in this modern age.
Yeah, we've been chatting. Like,
weather will get you.
What if we get shut down for 6 months?
Terrorist attacks will get you. So I was, back in the day, I was in New York City on 9/10, and I flew out, and then 9/11 happened. And I remember what happened then. This was before Adafruit and all this stuff. During Sandy, we had a bunch of redundancies that we set up for our teams. We had enough money to pay people when we weren't shipping orders. And, when you live through increasingly intense weather, when there's possible terrorist attacks that can shut down an economy, you try to build in things. I'll give you one silly example, but it's an example. So we have a pick and place machine. As soon as we could afford two, we got another one. We have two air compressors. One of them will break, and we will continue to operate while the other one is getting fixed. We try to have backups and redundancies. I think that is the best way to be robust. Have an action plan. We tell our teams, get a go bag. We have remote team members that are in Colorado now, and they might have to jet because, not like on a jet, but leave because of fires there. We had team members in Washington State and California. One had to leave Washington State because of the fires. So I think, unfortunately, humans aren't good at seeing patterns. So we had a pandemic in 1918.
Yeah.
The Adafruit building that we're in was being built during that time, and then it opened for being a building in 1921. So our radiators are right next to the window because their solution was ventilation and wear a mask. And so we'll be able to get through this because we think about like what's the worst case scenarios and what's the like black swan event that's going to get you. And when we saw this coming in January, we're like, wow, like our factory partners are telling us about it. They're sending us masks in the mail. We assumed we would be shut down for a while, and we are, and we're open, we're operating safe, but it was really tough in March and April. New York City, the death rate was intense. Giving all your information to your employees, being 100% transparent at all times, I think is the biggest takeaway. But everyone else in the U.S. right now is going through their version of New York, and I'll tell you, from being here, it was terrible. Yeah. And when you start to see hundreds of people dying every day in your state, and then thousands, and the sirens don't go off, are never, there's just sirens all the time. They never stop. It changes you, and it reveals who you really are. So I think the biggest takeaway is prepare and always be completely honest and transparent at all times. Okay.
Good advice.
Let's see if there's anything else. I think we got through all of them. That are the questions.
Okay, great.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
That's our show for tonight.
We'll see you next week. Tune in tomorrow.
We'll
next
see you
day,
soon.
Scott's got a deep dive. We got next week is going to be the AdaBox unboxing.
Is deep dive's on Friday, unless he's doing it early.
Yeah, it's sometimes on Thursdays. So I
get some cat stuff going on.
Yeah. So
Okay,
just check it out. Just keep an eye.
Special thanks to Takara and the Adafruit Slack.
Hey, Takara.
Special thanks to all the people that are helping on Discord. Really good questions tonight. Please pick up an AdaBox, adabox.com. Do it now. All the people that were in the chat saying how much they enjoy it. So, then you also get the holiday one.
Yeah.
So you want to do that. So do that. Check it out. Thanks for your orders. All of us at Adafruit, thank you.
Thank you.
Pre-COVID photos.
We're doing this thing. We're going to
Wear
keep
a
doing
mask.
this thing.
Stay distant.
We haven't stopped doing. We have not
Have some
missed
ventilation.
No, doing this every week.
So we're going to keep doing this. Thank you, everybody. We'll do a moment of Xener and then play some music. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.